Tonight, we listen to what students have to say about the presidential debates. We look at a preview of this year's Night of Musical Theater, and we'll take our first look at winter sports by talking to PLU men's soccer basketball team. Hello, Lutz, and welcome to the News at 9. I'm Angelina Johnson. The third and final presidential debate has come and gone. Before the debate, reporter Jake Bilyeu spoke with several PLU students to get their opinions on the two presidential candidates. Let's see what they said.
So far, watching the debates, it kind of just feels like nothing is for sure, and it's all just kind of scripted and a joke, which is really interesting because you see like the fact checker websites, but you don't even know if you can trust those at this point. So far as watching the debates, I'm just left with a lot of like more questions. Like every time, like, oh, maybe I'll finally get answers. There's just more questions that keep piling up and less answers, which is really frustrating as like a first-time viewer. Is like you don't get answers to any of the questions you have. Like you don't know what's important.
They have been pretty profoundly embarrassing, I think, for the American people and for American politics in general. I mean, the current state of our discourse, the current state of our debate is absolutely horrific. I mean, there's no substantive type of evidence or anything put forward. I mean, especially by Donald Trump. Hillary like really has her talking points down. But I mean, I guess for me, it's not necessarily what I want to hear. So I've been disappointed and embarrassed that like there just hasn't been any pressure on her to change what she's saying.
For the debate so far, it seems like both candidates are just bickering back and forth, which is really disappointing rather than actually talking about the issues of the debate and of the election. So yeah, that's my biggest concern so far.
Yeah, the third debate, I want it to be exciting, entertaining, because you know a lot of people are getting involved into politics because of Donald Trump running, so that's just interesting to see how he's been able to, draw a certain type of audience.
I think I'm hoping to get some relevance out of it, maybe talking about actual concerns we have as a U.S. system instead of just bickering back and forth.
Thanks, Jake. If you have any thoughts about the presidential debate and want your voice to be heard, tweet your thoughts to @PLUMast. Lutz, we'd also like to remind you that regardless of your opinion, the most important thing for you to do in this election season is to vote. This may be the most important election of our lifetime, and it is crucial that you let your voice be heard. ASPLU also continues to host events for the Lut Vote. As the election approaches, their next scheduled event is a discussion on the final sprint to the White House with PLU professor Michael Artime and presidential historian Mike Purdy on October 21st at 7:30 in Riki 103. There will also be a Q&A with Congressman Derek Kilmer on the 26th at 1:45 in Zanvier 201. Finally, there will be an election results party in the Cave on November 8th at 6 p.m. PLU's 11th annual Knutson Lecture is coming a week from tonight. Jennifer Harvey, a religion professor from Drake University, will come to Lagerquist Concert Hall at 7:30 p.m. to discuss the connection between the Black Lives Matter movement and religion. Harvey's lecture is free to the public and should be a very interesting discussion. PLU will also be hosting the 12th Annual International Transformative Learning Conference from October 20th through the 23rd. The conference is being organized by PLU Communication Professor Amanda Feller. Students interested in the conference can register at the website below, and students can also email questions to itlc2016@gmail.com for more details. Lutz, the Mast would like to remind you that if you are feeling stressed about anything, it doesn't have to be school related, then you can follow Shirley Says on Twitter @PLU Shirley Says, or email Shirley at mast@plu.edu for friendly advice to get you through the day. All submissions are anonymous and tailored to your needs, and you might find your answer in the next issue of the Mast. And finally, the 2016 PLU Powell Heller Conference concluded earlier this afternoon, but Mast TV was able to listen to last night's keynote speaker, Lenore Whiteson. While Whiteson declined to be interviewed, Mast TV reporters Jake Bilyeu and Natalie Mooney were still able to interview two of the speakers from last night's event. And here's what they had to say about the importance of this conference.
Well, in terms of Holocaust studies, there are many kind of subfields, and certainly one that has been growing in the last 20 years has been the study of women in the Holocaust. But among the various things we focused on each year with these various conferences, we haven't done that yet. So this was hitting a topic that's very important, which a lot of important scholarship has been done in the past 2 decades, and you can see with the quality of the papers what kind of work is being done in this, and how good these visitors have been in making this accessible to a wider audience.
This year, Women in the Holocaust is a very important area to study, because there hasn't been that much research done on women in the Holocaust. And I think it's really important to hear people's stories, and it's from the stories that we get a personal connection with what was going on and a personal connection with history. So we can learn the lessons from the Holocaust and maybe make changes now and in the future what's happening in the world.
Well, mainly because I've taught here for 25 years and helped start interest. I taught the first courses on the Holocaust on the PLU campus. And so to see how this has just blossomed and grown into such a major thing is very gratifying.
My mission in education is to try to get this message out to as many students as we can, and mainly through teachers and faculty, so they can share the history of the Holocaust in all its many venues, and engage students to really come back in their own communities and make a difference.
Thanks, Jake and Natalie. The Powell Heller Conference was very informative and emotional for students and visitors alike, and we hope you got a chance to join in on the experience. Well, that's all for the news, but stick around. We'll be right back after this short break with everything new in PLU culture.
The river is so much greater than us.
This is something we have to protect. Our great expansion of the economy and the greater use of chemicals following World War II led to a lot of toxic waste entering our waterways.
In the 1950s and 60s, we turned our back to the river. And now we're really struggling to make sure that they're the centerpiece again.
Finally, after decades and decades, communities are beginning to turn to the river. We still have people who don't know where their drinking water comes from, and they don't know what happens when they flush the toilet. So there's more public awareness work we need to do.
The development that gives me the biggest hope for the future is the tremendous number of citizens that are rolling up their sleeves and getting involved in the fight for clean water.
It's not a lot of huge grand projects, but it's a lot of cumulative small projects.
We started trying to think about other ways to solve the problem. So what are the tools and solutions that we can use? We still need that on the ground work to happen, but how do you make it happen faster?
Only when we have a vital and rich connection to our waterways can we pass on that natural heritage and ensure it remains protected for generations to come.
Welcome back to News at 9. I'm Angelina Johnson, and this is Everything in PLU Culture. If you missed Amadeus last weekend, you've still got 3 more chances to see it. The play will be performed in KHP this Friday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m., and there will be a matinee on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. That will be the final performance of the show. Over homecoming weekend, PLU's Choir of the West celebrated its 90th anniversary by inviting back any and all alumni who participated in the choir to sing with the current members. In total, 350 alumni came to Longerquist Concert Hall to present a magnificent performance. Are you interested in film? Well, Laurel Mintner, an award-winning screenwriter, is coming to PLU on October 29th to lead a screenwriting workshop from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the UC. It costs $25 to enter the workshop, but students will be treated to a unique one-time learning experience at PLU. PLU's annual Night of Musical Theater returns next weekend. The show will open on Thursday, October 27th, and will also be performed on Friday and Saturday, with all performances starting at 7:30. The theme for this year's NOMT is As We Stumble Along, and Mast TV reporters Jake Bilyeu and Sierra Boivin spoke with the members of the cast to try and figure out exactly what that means.
So the theme, my fancy submission statement when I submitted my concept, was the concept of the generation gap conveyed through the juxtaposition of Golden Age musical theater and Modern Age musical theater. So in the first act, it shows super different views and values from the different ages, and it's really contrasted in the first act, number by number. And then in the second act, it starts to kind of mesh and address things that are apparent in both ages, like family, friends, love, loss, things like that. And that's the whole point of this show, is to show that, yeah, you know, the older generations have big gaps from the younger generations and have a lot of differences, but deep down, you know, we're all the same. We have the same sort of emotions and all go through the same general things. So that was the goal, to try and get people to understand with this show.
Well, it's really, like, NOMT is really important to me because it's like a big tradition. Like Lydia was just saying that she met the guy who started NOMT. So it's cool to be a part of, like, kind of a legacy of, like, students just taking the initiative and then running an entire show. Like, every single year there's always a student who wants to do it, and it's always really good. So it's fun to be a part of it.
I play a man in the very first song, and I play a woman later in the show, and then a man again, and then a woman at the very end of the show. And so, you know, you create characters for each song, and you put them in each song, and then once you get to that song, you are that character. So I don't know if it's hard, but you really have to set up that this is who I am now, which goes along with every musical review.
Why should people come see the show? Because it's going to be really good, and a bunch of people are working their butts off to come be in the show. So, plus, I would like to say that I am tap dancing so hard that I actually ripped my toenail off yesterday. So that really should get you to come see the show. I'm just saying.
Thank you, Sierra and Jake, for previewing that for us. Go see Night of the Musical Theater next weekend, for that will surely be an entertaining night. Well, that's everything PLU culture. Stick around after the break for Sarah Burns with the latest in sports.
It's not only a great way for, like, physical activity, but I think it's a great way for people to bond together and make friendships, because I've met most of my friends here at PLU through intramurals and sports.
It brings a, like, fun competitive atmosphere as far as just, like, getting out there, getting some exercise, playing the sport you like playing. There's t-shirts at the end. If you're the champions, you get some t-shirts and all that kind of stuff, so there's prizes you can win. It's just a really fun way to go out and compete. Even if you're not playing at a college level in the sport, you can go out and have fun with some friends and all that.
It's a stress reliever for many students, so it's just a great way to connect with friends and enjoy and have fun.
I think it gives a chance for students to, like, work out and have fun competitively, but not too competitively, so, like, not at the varsity level, but just for fun.
I think it brings an opportunity to, like, expand your horizon of friendships, but also to, like, be more active, because in college we just sit a lot and read a lot of textbooks, and that's kind of torture.
Welcome back to News at 9. I'm Sarah Burns, and this is everything in Lute athletics. Lute volleyball pulled off an exceptional weekend by defeating Willamette and Lewis and Clark on the road, losing just one set over the 2 games. Additionally, Kaylee Shiramizu and Isabella Zubrod earned Northwest Conference Player of the Week honors for their consistency over the weekend. The team then defeated the Puget Sound Loggers in 5 sets earlier this evening. The win brought the Lutes to a tie in second place with the Loggers. The Lutes don't have much time to rest for their next game as they host George Fox on Saturday at 5 p.m. Men's soccer seems to be hitting their stride as they've pulled off 3 straight shutouts, most recently over Willamette and Linfield last weekend. The shutouts were led by goalie Jack Rose, who received NWC Defender of the Week honors for his efforts. After a rocky start, the team now sits at 3rd in conference and can climb even higher with strong performances this weekend at Whitman and Whitworth. The women's soccer team climbed into first place after defeating Whitworth and tying Whitman last weekend. The team will play their next 5 games at home, including 2 against Linfield and Lewis and Clark this weekend. So be sure to come and support your Lutes, who are currently ranked 20th in the nation in NCAA Division III polls. Football suffered a disappointing homecoming loss against Whitworth last Saturday. After trailing by 17 points in the 4th quarter, the visiting Pirates came roaring back to claim the 45-41 win. The team is now tied for 3rd place in conference, but can break that tie when they travel to face fellow 3rd place team George Fox this Saturday. PLU's cross-country team finished up their final race of the regular season last Saturday at Emerald City Open in Seattle. Both the men's and the women's teams finished 4th in their races. Brad Hodkinson led the way, finishing in the top 10 again for the men's team, while Mackenzie Volger led the way for the women's team, finishing 23rd among scoring runners. PLU's women's tennis team finished up their fall season with a 7-0 loss on the road against Seattle University. Both tennis teams won't return to the courts again until February. Women's rowing was all set to begin their season last Saturday at the American Lake Fall Classic, but the event was unfortunately canceled due to inclement weather. The team will instead begin the defense of their conference championship on October 29th at the Black and Gold Regatta. PLU's men's golf team recently placed first at the NWC Fall Classic in Salem, Oregon. This Saturday, they'll travel to Brewster, Washington for the Whitworth Invitational. They'll be joined by the women's team, who recently finished at the Fall Classic in Cresswell, Oregon. And finally, fall sports may not be over yet, but we're already excited for winter. The men's basketball team started practice this past week. Our reporter Kara Gillespie caught up with head coach Steve Dickerson and players Brandon Lester and Dylan Foreman to discuss the upcoming season.
The men's basketball team heads into their season this week, coming off of their best year since the 1997-1998 season. The team finished 17-10 overall, with a conference record of 9-7. Closing out the Northwest Conference in 3rd place and finishing as runner-ups in the conference tournament for only the 2nd time in program history. We spoke with head coach Steve Dickerson and players Brandon Lester and Dylan Foreman about what we have to look forward to this season.
Well, I think you can expect a really exciting basketball team. We're going to be a little shorter than we were last year, and rebounding could be an issue, but we have a lot of guys that can shoot the basketball and score, so we're going to be exciting. Now, how that plays out, I'm not sure, but I think last year they gained a lot of confidence, and they know what it takes to win now, and so I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a must-see event every home game. We're going to be a really exciting team, and we should be very competitive in our conference, and in the past our goal has been to get in the conference playoffs. I think our goal this year is to win the conference. We've got a lot of very good young scorers and ball handlers. Our biggest issue is going to be our rebounding. So we're going to have to gang rebound, as we call it. Everybody's going to have to do their part. But I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch, and they're a great bunch of guys.
This basketball season, you should look forward to a lot of exciting play on our part. We've got a lot of experience coming back, and we got a few newcomers who are looking to help us a lot this year. And we're looking to go back into the conference championship game, hopefully win it this year, and make an impact in the NCAA tournament.
The games you should look forward to this year, especially at home, is definitely the Whitman and Whitworth games. We beat Whitman twice last year at their place. We've yet to beat Whitworth in a very long time. They're kind of the team we strive to be every year and have come up short. So I think this year is one of our best chances to get that elusive win. So definitely the home game against Whitworth is going to be a big one.
This is Kara Gillespie reporting for Mast TV. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kara. We look forward to watching the team during their first home game, where they will take on Northwest University at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, November 22nd. And we'll also say hello to the women's basketball team on the next News at 9. That's all we have for News at 9 tonight. Our next News at 9 isn't until November 16th, but we've got this year's first episode of Late Night with Sam Ellefson coming to you on November 4th. We hope to see you then.